You are now listening to the Girl Organize That Life podcast. Coach L3.
Hi, welcome to the Girl Organize That Life podcast, where I am your host, Leslie Latimore-Lorfils, affectionately known as Coach L3. As a mother of 12, who has also served as a senior military officer for nearly 3 decades alongside my husband, I can certainly understand and appreciate who I call the 3C sisters: crazy, chaos, and confusion. If you are an executive level mom, mompreneur, or lady leader who perhaps still struggles with burnout, you have come to the right place where you can receive strategies and tips on how to pivot with poise and conquer the noise. I invite you to take this journey with us to increase your clarity, your confidence, and to conquer the overwhelm. Hope to see you there.
Coach L3.
Hey girl, hey, welcome back to the Girl Organize That Life podcast, where I'm your host, Coach L3, where we empower executive level moms, mompreneurs, and lady leaders to pivot with poise despite the noise, whatever their circumstances are. And today we have a special guest by the name of the Dr. Ansonya Burke. She is one amazing human being. As a matter of fact, she was one amazing speaker who graced our presence at my first live event at our Get Going Girl, inaugural Get Going Girl Summit. And let me tell you, she brought the house down. But in addition to that, let me give you a few fun facts about her. She is a certified life coach, mentor, and consultant. Dr. Burke has a heart for leadership and knows how hard it can be for them to thrive professionally and spiritually. Teaching and equipping extraordinary individuals around the world, her vision is to resuscitate war-weary leaders through a practice she developed called oxygen, activating, imparting, and releasing air, in parentheses, them for eternal impact. Now, this is somebody that you want to listen to, and this is why she's here. And today we're going to talk about being able to say no, being able to really establish a healthy boundary to help us busy women that battle so much, that wrestle with so much, that keep a lot of things on our minds and our brains, and sometimes we don't have the capacity. Oh, let me take that back. We have the capacity, but sometimes we may not have that intestinal fortitude or courage to say no. So today we're going to talk about that, and Dr. Ansonya Burke is going to help to usher us into that space of being able to do just that. So, Dr. Burke, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. It is just such an honor to have you here on the show today.
Well, thank you. I'm so excited, and I'm honored that you would have me on your platform. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. So, in speaking about our subject for this time that we have with our listeners, and particularly talking to, like I said, the busy women that we have so much going on, what do we tell someone they're on overload? They're on complete overload, and everything is important to them in the moment, but they know in their heart of hearts they have to tell their sister or that employee or that child or that spouse, business partner, no. How do we do that?
Well, I think before we even get into how we do that, we've got to talk about why do we struggle as busy women with saying no. And I think one of the things that, well, there's actually 3 things that I can think about right off the top of my head. And one is social expectations. And we're often taught to be agreeable or nice, however you want to do it, in which we could make saying no feel very uncomfortable. So many of us it's just acceptable to keep saying yes because you don't want to deal with the repercussions of saying no. Number 2 is fear of disappointment. Many of us feel like we're going to let people down, that they're not going to like us. They're not going to be supportive of us in our endeavors. And then the third one that comes to mind is people pleasing.
Mm.
Some people feel a need to keep everyone happy at their own expense, at their own detriment of the things that they have going on. So, with those three things, people just choose not to say no.
And I know we're going to go into the how, but can you speak to mentally what that effect of not saying no can do to a person over time?
Well, I've known people to be led, especially like, children, or even, that starts at an early age, that you become this people pleaser, and that usually starts when you're young. Things that get ingrained in you, and so it really messes with your mindset, and it could really sabotage your life if you allow it to. And what ends up happening is you're constantly um, saying yes to things that you really, really don't want to do, but you don't want to confront that particular person, your workplace, your mom, your dad, your friends, by saying, no, I just don't have the capacity. And so what that does is that you become overloaded. You have the anxiety, you become depressed. All those things can happen if you don't learn how to set boundaries with people, and begin to say no.
Wow. Um, and I would tell you, like, even for the listeners, a full transparency moment. I used to be that person. And speaking from my own personal experience, I would not say no to my detriment. And then I would look up and wonder, well, now I'm depleted for my family or for my husband or whatever space that really took precedence and priority
Absolutely.
over where I probably should have placed a no over here. And so, what I would encourage the women that are listening, especially as Dr. Burke, ushers us through this journey, is not to be afraid to say that. And so, Dr. Burke, do you have like maybe a way they can say no without saying no? Is there a thing?
There are things that you can do. It just depends on the situation. I think one thing that I've learned to do for my own self when saying no is respecting myself and giving yourself the higher level of value and time that you are saying no to. I think, what is it that takes precedence over your life? We tend to not think about our own selves. We think about everyone else. But what is that doing to you when you're constantly saying yes to something? And think about it. I know for me, I've said yes to things and then I hate it. Like, I don't want to do it. You're not giving your full self. So your mind is really in two places. It's in that place of whatever it is that you're going to do. And then you're sitting back in your mind saying, oh, I just don't want to do it. Or how many times have you been late to something that you really didn't, a place that you really didn't want to go, that you've already committed to? And so you just procrastinate and procrastinate and hoping that something comes up that you can call and say, I can't make it.
Right,
But that's
right.
just me. I'm sure you have never dealt with that
Never
before.
ever. Yeah, I can say that one technique that I've used a few times just over years and just kind of being around other people and just learning is if I not so much now because now I have the courage to say I can't do it. But if I was in a position where I felt like, oh, I really don't want to say no to them, but I just, I would say, well, I would love to help you with XYZ, fill in the blank. Um, but at this time, it's not the best time. Maybe come back to me a little later and perhaps I can help you at a later time. But right now, even though I would love to do it, I just don't have the capacity in this moment. Like I've kind of wordsmith my no
Mm-hmm.
a little bit so that I'm not feeling bad or guilty or like I didn't help someone. And it did allow me to have space for me
How about this one?
while still feeling like I can be available to someone else, just not at that particular time.
Here's one. I appreciate the invite, but at this time, I can't make it.
Mm.
That's one way that you can do it. And what I share with people is sometimes, like when you know that that's going to be very difficult for you, get in the mirror and practice that. There's like for anyone listening that's having, this particular opportunity for yourself, get in the mirror now and start saying some of those things that you can't do. And talk to yourself in the mirror. So when that situation comes up, the next time you want to say no, you already have it memorized on how you're going to say it. I think sometimes when we're trying to make the change, we haven't really thought about what that's going to look like when we come up against that. And so we fail because we hadn't thought about it. We didn't even consider ourselves to be able to do it, even though that's something that we want to do.
That is so good. That is so good. And I think too, um, just women understanding what will your outcome look like as a result of being able to say no. And so, Dr. Burke, would you say that this is a healthy boundary?
Oh, it's definitely a healthy boundary. It's an
Yeah.
unhealthy one if you're not already doing that. And trust me, I did it for a very long time. It took time, therapy that I actually went through myself to be able to really express that, I don't want to do it. And so I think you will find yourself very freeing. Your mind begins to free up. Your whole being becomes it's a different feeling. I don't even know how to explain it, but it empowers you. That's the word I'm looking for. It
Uh,
empowers you to take control of yourself, and you're not allowing people to take advantage of you. Because people, as
mhm.
long as you say yes, people are going to continue to come back and
Mhm.
until you say no. Now, this is the thing that many of us are not prepared for. And that is what I shared with you earlier. There can be backlash from you finally putting that boundary in place for yourself and saying no. So be prepared because it usually comes from someone you would never expect it to, a girlfriend, even your spouse, your parents, your children. It actually they'll be so surprised and they're like, you're actually saying no. And then they start, are you serious? You're not going to do this? Or I can't
Mhm.
believe you're saying no this time. So just be prepared for that kind of difficult opportunity for you.
Right, right. That's a good point. Because especially if it's someone that's near and dear to you per se, there's
Absolutely.
that underlying expectation. Well, I can tell them and they'll just understand. But the fact is, family or not family, or close or not close, people are people. And that is
Yeah.
the common denominator that we have to remember. Um, what else would you tell our listeners in terms of from because your specialty deals with mental health, right? And so I want to be able to tie that in together in terms of saying no, setting that boundary, knowing that your outcome, you're going to feel free and all of the things. But from your experience, have you noticed any improvement in anybody's mental health for those that may have struggled in this area?
Oh, absolutely. As I was sharing with you earlier, it becomes more of not so much definitely mental health, but then it becomes that self-care piece.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not overcommitted. You're not going on 10 all the time because you've overcommitted yourself and said yes to several different people. And I'll tell you, as you say, all transparency, I found myself these last couple of weeks, I did that. Like I had completely gotten control of my life. And, I didn't say yes to many things, but all of a sudden, things started getting a little crazy for me. And I realized that I had overcommitted. And so,
Mm,
really, you got to be careful because it's not, even though you set the boundaries, you can find yourself right back in that. And
right.
the way you figure that out is there's signs of the overcommitment. You're
Mm-hmm.
feeling drained, you're tired, you're stressed, you can't think. Like I couldn't think.
Right.
It was just too many things. Like when I thought I had a moment to think, up, it's time to get on a call, or it's time to get on a podcast, or it's time to do something. And so I think really making sure that those signs of overcommitment don't sneak back up on you. Also, continuing to make sure that you're doing a personal well check with yourself. Ask yourself, those questions. Are you exercising? How are you, are you doing those things that can make sure? This is my thing. Even in the midst of all this yeses, this is the question that I always ask my client. What are you saying yes to for yourself? Are you exercising? Are you making sure that you have time to journal? Do you have time to even just sit and meditate and breathe?
Yes.
And really understanding what those things, because those are the things I call that self-care. You got to take care of yourself before you can take care of everyone else.
What they say, put your own oxygen mask on.
Yeah. That's my thing. And we have to learn how to do that, because we've just been programmed to take care of everyone else. But who's going to take care of you but you?
I hope that everyone that's listening, that y'all heard that last statement. We have been conditioned and programmed to always say yes for fear, those fear factors. And then keep in mind too, I say it all the time, it's not the situation that evokes your emotions, it's the thought of the situation. So you have already worked up anxiety unnecessarily because you're thinking about, well, if I say no, what will happen? Well, what if you said yes? What would happen? And so this is so good. This is so good for our busy women, because we have so much on our shoulders already, and some things we don't need to add, and we need to be okay with it, like lose the guilt behind it. And another thing I think to point out, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but most times after the no, whoever you were saying no to, they survive.
Oh, they do. That's good. They
live to see another day, right? So let's celebrate that. Let's rejoice in that they live to see another day. And so will you. And you will probably increase the years on your own life by putting that healthy boundary there of saying no.
Absolutely.
Wow, this was so good. This was so good. Dr. Burke, listen, for y'all, if y'all didn't hear me, she's another one of my dynamic speakers that was on the stage and brought the house down. And she's actually a coach in our new program that we have for you busy women. So if you want a community with integrity, again, if you want accountability, if you want someone that's going to walk the journey with you, Dr. Ansonya is actually one of our coaches. So we're so excited to have her on board. But if they want to work with you specifically on a deeper level, how can they find you?
Well, you can find me right now on my social media, Dr. Ansonya Burke on Facebook. You can also find me on Instagram, Iconic Leader. All those will be changing shortly once my website is coming up here shortly. So stay tuned. I'm so excited about it. Rebranding and getting all those things done. You can reach out to me in any of those platforms in the DM, or you can contact me by phone, 210-833-6473.
Okay. There you have it. The foundation has been laid. If you all found this to be valuable and you saw that you had some key takeaways, please like and subscribe. Tell your friends to like and subscribe. Leave us a review. Let us know if there are other subjects that you feel that's going to help you to get to your next, that you want us to discuss here at Girl Organize That Life. Please let us know, so that, because we're here to serve you. It has nothing to do with us. We're just vessels that's being used to help other women to propel to their next level. So that is it for this episode. I appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you go ahead and exercise your human right to say no to things that's not going to serve your purpose. If it's not moving your needle closer to your goal, you really must evaluate if you should be doing it anyway. So be free in that. Meanwhile, until next time, don't forget to pivot with poise despite for noise. Okay? Bye for now.
Coach L3.